Well, good afternoon and welcome to Penn Sports Podcast, episode 16, Wu Bei.
16, Frank. 16. It sounds good. We're rolling, man. It's a great thing, and we hope we're impacting the community.
Well, I'll tell you, we're coming to you again from the Goldstein Edgar Regan studio here on J. Clyde Morris Boulevard in Newport News. We want to get your story on, so if you got a story about local sports, and we're talking Bay Rivers, Peninsula District, independent schools, whatever, let us know. Wu Bei and I have been out a little bit this past week, looking around, watching some sports. So we're going to bring on our first guest today, who is the head coach of the Kecoughtan High School softball team, Cindy Winter. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Boy, Wu Bei and I got a chance to see your squad on Friday afternoon and really enjoyed watching your senior pitcher and watching the offensive display you put on. Tell us a little bit about your team this year.
Yeah, it's a great mix of age groups, if you will. We've got, obviously, led by senior pitcher Brooke Bond, and there's two other seniors, and then we've got 4 juniors and 4 sophomores, 1 freshman. And what I really love about this team is that it seems like every single big game, somebody different has stepped up at an important time when we really needed it. So it's a true team in every sense of the word and every meaning of it.
Now, this is your first year over on Woodland Road, correct?
Correct.
Well, tell me, what have you been able to put into these players since you've been there to bring them to this? You're now 12-3, so bring you to this great record towards the end of the year.
Yeah, one of the things that I think really helped for this team to be successful is the chemistry, and certainly, I do what I can to lead them to that. But at the end of the day, it's up to the girls, and thankfully they all get along really well, and they're not only good ball players, they're just really good people, and we all really enjoy spending time together, so it makes it a lot easier. And I think going back to the first loss of the season, which was against Woodside, it was the second game of the season, and just, we got down really big, really early, but we kept fighting. So it's a group that truly believes that they're in every single game, regardless of the score. And regardless of the inning, how many outs we have, we're in it until that last out is made.
Now, how many months did you have before you started the season? Months to get to know the team, maybe get to run some practices. How long did you have to do that before they started the season this spring?
Not many. I was hired right at the end of January, so basically maybe a month, not quite, before we had tryouts and selected our team. So that's about it.
Well, it does sound like you inherited a good group, and one is your great pitcher, Brooke Bond. Tell us a little bit about her and what you've been able to help her with, and where you think she's going to end up here next year.
Well, she claims she's going to Radford. That's to my knowledge. She's just a great kid, and the thing I really like about her is that she's a leader by example. And she's willing to do whatever it takes to help the team succeed. And she and we are very blessed to have, other seniors, 2 other seniors who are making contributions, as well as the younger kids, if you will, that are stepping up and really playing well together. And there's no question that Brooke is the leader of that pack as far as that goes. She has been dealing with she's been hurt, so she's missed some games because of that, and it has made a difference. You can, she's an easy one to rally behind, that's for sure.
Well, Coach, Brooke Bond, we've been reading about Brooke Bond the whole season, and she's as advertised. But there's one player that I want to talk about, Haley Crabtree, who had 3 hits and 3 RBIs in that game that we broadcasted. Talk a little bit about her season so far, if you can.
Oh, absolutely. She's actually one of our RBI leaders for the year. Just another one that continually comes up with a key hit at a key time. And so she's also stepped into a leadership role. She's one of the other seniors this year, and I know that's one of the things that she shared with me is that she's really gotten a lot of value out of learning how to be a leader this year, and I think she's really stepped up and just done a tremendous job with that.
Now, who's your third senior, Coach?
Hallie Crampton, and she's the one that had the key hit against Warwick when we were down to our last out, and we were down 1 run with runners on second and third, and she got a base hit to right field that scored the tying and then, of course, the go-ahead and subsequent winning run. So she also has really come through again, at key times in these big games, she's another one that's come through.
Yeah, we actually talked about her on our podcast a few weeks ago. There was a nice article in the paper on her in that game. Shelby Brown, who plays in the outfield for you, I know the family, and so we talked about Shelby as well. She's one of those juniors you have. You have her, and you have Allison Revere. Now, I've known her family for a long time. Is Allison doing any pitching for you, or just covering the shortstop?
It's an embarrassment of riches. We have so many pitchers. Allison has done some pitching. She's just such a good shortstop and really makes a difference in our defense when we've got her out there. However, she's also come through at the plate at key times. She's the one that came up with the triple in the top of the 8th inning against Gloucester. That was a bases clearing triple that led to a victory in that game. So she's doing really well. Shelby's at times struggling at the plate, but nevertheless, in key points, again in the Gloucester game, she got a key walk. I think in the Warwick game, she also got a key walk. So she's getting on base at the key time that we need her to get on base and making her contributions in that way.
Well, what's going to be the key for you going through the last 2 weeks? So I know you have a tough week a week from now, where you've got Gloucester and you got Woodside. And Woodside just beat Warwick Friday 20-10. I don't know how we can explain that one from either end, but what's it going to take?
I think it's just.
Go ahead. No. What
I was going to say, I think it's just a testament to how strong the Peninsula District really is this year. Is what I'm going to say to that.
Well, you're going to come in as one of the leaders in the Peninsula District. What is it going to take to win through the region and get to the state playoff? Say the state Final Four.
Yeah, I think, we got to stay focused. We can't take anybody for granted, whether we're playing a team that we've already beaten at least once or twice, or whether, we're playing against somebody that we've never seen before. I think as long as we stick to our game and we play together, then I think that we've got a really good shot at it for sure.
Now, Coach, you're from Virginia Beach, so you know what good softball is all about over there at the beach. So talk a little bit about your career, Coach. You're from the beach. You went over to the West Coast. You came back. What brought you back home, and what took you out to the West Coast?
Yeah, well, I went out to the West Coast. I had my grandmothers, God bless them. They were still alive, and I knew in my whole life this was my only chance to get to know them. So went out for personal reasons, stayed for 15 years, had an opportunity, very blessed to coach some really good girls and, again, really good ball players as well as just really good people. And so wanted to move back home because it was time to move home. And once this Kecoughtan position became available, I had a dream of bringing some of what I learned from the Southwest out here to Hampton. And just so fortunate to have such a great group of girls to be able to coach. And they make it easier. They make it easier than it probably should be. But, I really do appreciate them. So.
Well, let's look beyond this season because you are in charge of a very good program at Kecoughtan. What are you going to do to continue to build that pipeline that feeds that program?
Well, thankfully, we've got a really strong JV coaching staff, and so they've been doing great things with the JV program and primarily with 8th graders. We've got several 8th graders on the JV team. So just working with them and hopefully just continuing that and just enjoying having a good time at Kecoughtan High School with the softball program.
Now, we'll be going to ask you the million-dollar question we ask a lot of the coaches now because nobody really knows. But, City of Hampton's going to the academies this coming fall. Kecoughtan will have certain designated academies. My daughter's actually headed over there to the Teaching and Child Development Academy as a 9th grader. What have you considered what impact that might have on your program at Kecoughtan?
I really have not. I've moved back, I guess, 5-6 years ago, and Hampton High School has always had the bachelorette program, or the IB program. So, the different schools have the different. I think Phoebus has the culinary. So, I really haven't. And for me, honestly, my goal is to bring out the best of whoever it is that I have, and just make it a really valuable and worthwhile experience for them because this is their high school experience. So that's, I'm going to coach whoever is there for me to coach.
Well, very good. Well, we certainly enjoyed watching your team on Friday. And
for sure.
That broadcast, by the way, will be up this coming week on YouTube and on LSC 48. So we hope you get a chance to see that, and we wish you the best going through the last 2 weeks of the regular season and then into the playoffs.
I appreciate that. Thanks for covering our sport. Really appreciate that, too.
Thanks for your time, Coach. We appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Have a good one.
Thanks now.
Bye-bye.
Coach Cindy Winter at Kecoughtan High School. Get out and see them play. I know they play Gloucester and Woodside in about 8 days, and that back-to-back nights. So that's going to be a big contest for the Warriors, and hopefully everybody get out and watch them.
And then they have that possibly could be the championship of the Peninsula Championship game, Frank, against Warwick at the end of the season. So, we'll see what happens. It's going to come down to the end. I'm sure Modar and Brook Bond will battle for that title. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, Lindsay Modar at Warwick got beat the other night, and she was beat by Kecoughtan in the final inning. But the Raiders are 13-2. Jimmy Dawson's program is terrific over there, and then Woodside has bitten both teams, Kecoughtan and Warwick now. So it's a shame when we don't have a Peninsula District tournament that will put those three in an 8-team setting and see who could win it.
Yeah, because Woodside's going to go up to 6A playoffs, and Warwick and Kecoughtan and Gloucester will play in the 5A. So unfortunately, they won't get a chance to play in the Peninsula District. There was the Peninsula District. Now it's the classifications on enrollment. So now we have to figure out how that's going to happen. Again, Gloucester, Kecoughtan, and Warwick all at the top of that race for that Peninsula title.
That's right. That gives them four good teams in the Peninsula District. And plus, we haven't even talked about the teams in the Bay Rivers, and some of those are in the 4A level. I think they have a 5A over there, don't they?
I think it's just 3 and 4.
We got to get a scorecard to figure out who's in whose playoffs,
really.
which I think, and I'll say this to the VHSL, I tell it to the head of the VHSL, it's a disaster, and they need to rethink the idea of leaving the districts together to build that competitive feel in regular season.
You see how long the conference deal stayed around. They didn't last long, so they went back to playing the districts, and hopefully they'll bring the district tournaments back. They were really exciting.
They really were,
to see who goes to the regionals. One quick shout out, Frank. Haley Crabtree, her mom was at the game. Jennifer Crabtree. I just want to say hello to her. She came up to us. I used to work with her back in the day. I didn't even know that was her daughter. And I said, you picked a good day to come out. She had 3 hits, and I mentioned the coach, 3 RBIs. She leads the team in RBIs, which is awesome.
Well, I gave her 4 hits. I think we had her 4 for 4.
We did. I remember I asked you how many hits she had when mom came up to us. So, the paper had 3 hits. We'll give her 4.
I don't know. That scorekeeper over there is probably shorting her a hit, and we know him.
Yeah, we know him very well.
No, I tell you, the atmosphere at the softball game Friday afternoon at Hampton High School was wonderful. A lot of parents, a lot of non-parent supporters of the teams. A lot of our friends came out to see the game, and I hope that fans around the peninsula will get out and see all the softball and all the sports that are coming down the last couple of weeks of the regular season and then into the playoffs.
Yeah, speaking of all sports, Trey Morgan struck out 12, went 2 for 3 at the plate against against Kecoughtan, and they won 3-1. Huge win for them. They're 14-2. They, from what I understand, talking to the athletic director Mike Trebus, they're 1 or 2 in that 5A race there, so they could be a 1 seed going into the regionals. And the regionals, once again, is at our hometown stadium, Frank, the War Memorial Stadium on Pembroke. So be a nice opportunity for them to play on this side of the water for a chance to go to the state tournament actually after the regionals.
And I think they've got Menchville Tuesday night at Hampton. The Crabbers and the Monarchs Tuesday night.
Oh, they do
at
You're
Hampton,
right. Yes.
And so I think we want the fans to get out there. I tell you, the crowd Friday night was
nice.
big,
Nice
and when the
crowd.
softball game finished first, it got bigger. There were people standing on the benches, including you and me. There were lots of people standing down on the outfield fences at the Danny Mitchell Field over there at Hampton High School.
That's right.
So a good atmosphere out there.
Good opportunity for Hampton to have a little revenge game, Frank. The last time they played, it was in Menchville's favor. So hopefully Hampton can come out and put out a good fight.
All right. Well, we've covered. We got some softball, a little baseball we saw this past week. There are all the sports going on. Smithfield soccer continues to roll on. We had their coach on last week. Man, what a machine. He went to Dinwiddie and beat them, I think it was 5-1, something like that.
I saw that. So they were rolling, Frank.
And then they shut out New Kent, I believe. So, a week that was going to be tough turned out to be one he handled very well. Those young men over there are doing very well.
Another Penn Sports Podcast alum, The Warwick girls soccer team went over to Maury. Maury's one of the top ranked teams in the area, Frank. They went on over to the south side and got a 3-2 win. So I'm telling you, man, this podcast, we're bringing on these coaches, and they're getting huge wins. They're getting titles. They're getting everything when they come on the podcast.
That's last week's Coach Ben Bukovarakis, who we had on here. And, man, what a pro. I mean, think about this. It's 2 Warwick girls teams that we've talked about that are showing the prowess in the sport. And so that hopefully this competitive feel of the district is going to continue no matter how the VHSL sorts them out, that we're going to see a lot of competition here within the bounds of the peninsula.
Well, Coach Winter said how competitive the Peninsula District is on the softball side. And, again, you never know what's going to happen. Every night it's a different story. It's a different score. It could be upsets. And that's what we like this time of year. You want to see a little parity, in the district. It's always been top-heavy in a lot of sports, but it's good to see a lot of parity so far this year.
All right. Well, that's looking around the high school scene, most anywhere you go in the next 2 weeks is going to be a competitive game because you got these teams that are trying to win their way in or ones that are trying to hold on to their seeds. So get out there and see those. Big horse show yesterday for you equestrian fans over at Foxtail Farm in Smithfield, Dana Kaiser's facility right north of the packing plant. Biggest horse show I've seen in about a year. It was a local show and well organized, well run. That's Dana Kaiser, Yvette O'Reilly, Carla Francis, and Chelsea Liming, the 4 instructors that formed the Hampton Roads Horse Show series. And so if you want to come see some good equestrian events, I've watched one today, Wube, on from Louisville, the three-day event up there that preceded the Kentucky Derby yesterday. Right. I tell you, the competition yesterday was tremendous. There was one class, and if you can imagine, one ring the size of a hockey rink probably, with 17 horses in it, all competing, and one judge trying to sort them out. And she did a great job yesterday. I don't know the judge, but she did a wonderful job. Sunny, hot. We've gone from winter to summer in a week. So I'm sure all the teams that play and ride and play golf and tennis and all of them that are outside love it.
Yeah, for sure they do. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a awesome weekend as far as weather, in terms of weather goes. So, well,
I got to give a compliment to Maggie Elliott, young lady from Williamsburg, who won that 17-horse competition. She got first in that one. She's headed to a strong year here as well. Now, how's the Bethel soccer team doing?
Went 1-2 this past week. Beat Churchland, had a tough loss to Hampton, and Minchfield just destroyed us, but. Minchfield is number 1 in the area for a reason on that 5A side. So, they'll look to regroup. We have a game against Phoebus this coming up Tuesday. And actually, we'll be on the campus of Bethel for our softball game between Bethel and Phoebus. So, might take a little peek at the first half action and come down and do the softball game. So,
I tell you, there's a lot of good sports going around. We had a sad note this week. One that Wube and I made a couple comments on our Twitter feed on. There was a shooting down in Hampton, the death of a young man, a 17-year-old, and I won't mention his name yet until that gets all sorted out. But folks, the purpose of us doing this podcast is, I hate to say, is to prevent just what happened, and hopefully you will support us in getting kids to play sports, ride horses, do robotics, sing and dance at the plays, whatever it takes to have these young people have not only have their moment in the sun and have something to do in the afternoons. I thought instantly the other day, Wube, when you and I were talking to Coach Ben Moore,
yes,
the late Coach Ben Moore, who used to keep more players on his team than he probably was allowed to do. Yes. And he did it so they had some place to go in the afternoon. And I can't imagine how many hundreds of young men Coach Moore saved from just a disastrous life. And a disastrous ending like this young man down in Phoebus. So our prayers go out to the family, but our prayers also for this community, that everybody will rally around the idea that to just acknowledge the young people. When you see them on TV, you hear us talk about them, and then you see them in person, mention that you heard some good things about them. That may be the one thing that can save their life.
Well, funny you say that, Frank. I was going to mention this today. I was in McDonald's it was Friday after the game we broadcasted over at Hampton. And I took Jordan, my youngest daughter, to McDonald's, and the guy at the register, he was training someone. So as I was walking off, he was like, hey, man, I appreciate what you and Mr. Edgar, he called you Mr. Edgar, by the way.
Very kind.
I appreciate what you guys did for us. And I'm like, what do you mean? Who are you? What's your name? He said, my name is DeQuandre Edwards. I play for Phoebus. And you guys broadcast the games, and I listen to you guys all the time. I follow you on Twitter, and I just want to say I appreciate you. And I said, man, I appreciate you because this is why we do it.
That's
you know,
right.
we do it for things like this and for kids like you that get something out of it. And I think he's going off to college. But it was just the interaction that we had. He caught me off guard. I didn't realize, they have a helmet. I don't get a chance to recognize everyone. But the fact that he acknowledged me, and I told him I was going to mention him on the podcast, and we'll tag him on the Twitter feed as well.
Well, we followed him a couple
yes,
of years,
yeah.
and we're so proud of him and all those young men and women that go in there. They go the whole day to school, and then they go do their thing.
Exactly.
Whatever that thing is, and we want to support whatever that thing is, so long as it's positive and something that will prepare them for the future.
Well, I always say they go to class too. They just happen to be good in something else. They're good students. They have to be to play athletics, or like you said, they're in the drama club. They sing and dance. They do it. Whatever they have to do is their extracurricular. But they also go to class. They maintain their grades, and they do exceptional things off of the classroom, outside of the classroom. So, we have to give them credit. It's not easy. It's not easy to go through your whole day of school and then do your extracurricular and keep your grades up and have a social life. And we want to just mention those kids and tell them to keep striving.
Well, your word extraordinary. Each one of them is extraordinary as a person. And if we could just find it and let people know,
right.
More people know about it, then maybe that will be the one little spark to keep them going to that successful life and future.
Right, absolutely.
Well, I tell you, we've got a little shorter show this week, but we wanted to talk to Coach Winter. We were so pleased to be out there on Friday. It was great weather, great crowd, and a good game. Lauren Farrell pitched well. We didn't mention Lauren for Hampton High, but she pitched well. They played well. They got more than one hit, according to the Daily Press. We got to talk about that. But anyway, just the enthusiasm of being out with the young people was very rewarding.
I mean, I was really impressed with Kecoughtan. They hit better than I thought. I knew Bond was going to be an ace on the mound, and she was, like I told Coach, she was as advertised. But the hitting from Kecoughtan really impressed me. I mean, all those gap hits they had in left center and right center, and they were just very impressive, and I'm looking forward to see what they're going to do in the postseason.
Yeah, I guess we got to mention Morgan Wright, who chased down a lot of stuff out there for Hampton High, the freshman. So lots of young people playing.
4 freshmen, Frank, on the Hampton roster.
Yeah, I mean 1.4 in the lineup.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, get out there and support these teams this coming week and two, and then we'll be back next week to let you know what's going on as we head towards the playoffs. Follow us on Twitter at PennSportsPod. We want to thank Randy Bagoli, who's doing our sound again this week. And
real quick, he went to a bike show in Richmond, showing off his bike.
Good day to do it, too.
Yes, absolutely. We were just talking about how nice the weather was this weekend. So we're glad to have him back from Richmond, showing off his bike, and maybe we'll get him to show us what it's like to ride it one day.
Yeah, I'll let you know. My wife says that's a good idea. All right. Well, thanks for joining us here at the Penn Sports Podcast, and we'll see you next week.
All right. See you.